Wait,
hey,
is this
up?
a sidekick? What's happening? Oh,
I don't know.
No, it is the Heroes World podcast with one of the owners and proprietors of the Heroes World. That's Mr. John Ho. Say hello, John.
Howdy, folks.
And I am the current Prince of Mischief, I suppose. I am really cribbing off of Stu's notes here.
You're the master of ceremonies.
The master of ceremonies, the variant from 666 Rob Gadet. That's
6669. Stu is indisposed. I think he has a high table meeting with Venice. I think he's at the high table.
Yes. So if you're
Venice
wondering
about some stuff.
If you're wondering why it's just John and I, it's because, yes, as John said, Stu is currently meeting with Vanice in an underground parking lot to discuss undisclosed items or things. I don't know. But we are here to talk about episode 6, the Book of Boba Fett. The title is From the Desert Comes a Stranger. Now, listen, hey, we're just going to say it off the bat here before we get into it. John and I are not like the biggest Star Wars like nerds, okay? And I say that with all due respect. Like if you are here for a deep dive on like every specific little thing, that's like Stu's, that's his bag, and Baby's not here. So, we are going to be doing the best that we can, going over all of the Book of Boba Fett.
We're going to talk about what we thought of it, and then Stu will be back, and we'll let him kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about how he felt about a lot of these things that happened this episode. So I guess keep it spoiler free for the beginning, Rob.
Yeah. So Stu, what is your I had Stu. It's on my little notes here. Hey John, give us your non-spoiler review.
So non-spoiler review is another episode along the lines of the last that I quite enjoyed. So I don't know what it is. We'll get into it when we get into spoiler territory, but we got a whole host of I think I can at least mention there's a lot of cameos in this episode. So for some reason you haven't seen it and it hasn't already been spoiled for you, go watch it now. I think you'll do yourself a favor, especially if you have at least some knowledge of the Star Wars universe and have watched Mandalorian season 1 and 2. I think you will enjoy this episode if you can avoid these spoilers. If not, that sucks. Sorry. The internet is going to move pretty fast, so I think that's just what we got to get used to. But overall, I enjoyed the episode. Rob, how about you? How did you feel being not as big a Star Wars nerd as even me, who's not that big one?
Yeah, so I got to say, if you to reiterate what John just said, if you haven't seen it, I don't know how you have avoided spoilers. John, I go to a number of different websites, usually every day, and I try to avoid spoilers as much as possible, but one of the websites I went to, it's just in the headline, I didn't even click the article. It was in the headline of what happened. And I was like, man. So if you haven't been spoiled, congratulations. Don't listen to us anymore. Overall, though, John, this episode was amazing. And I think to piggyback off of what happened last week's episode, if you remember, we got no Boba Fett last week. And we'll get into how much Boba Fett we got this week. But one could infer that if last week's was really, really good with no Boba Fett and this week's is really, really good, there may be a similar thread there. So we'll see how it gets when we get into a spoiler review. John, but before we do that, what do you give this episode out of 10? You've been rating it consistently like around the 8.5 mark, I think.
The episode before 1 to 4 kind of was like, I feel like it was a steady drop. And then last episode, I had to give it a 10 out of 10 because it was Return of Our Guy. And it was almost a car-centric episode where it was almost like a Fast and Furious building his machine type thing. So I can't not give it a 10 out of 10 for that one. So this one was a lot of, I think, the world building and things like that. So maybe not as crazy as the last episode for me. So I'm still going to give it pretty high. I'm going to give it 8.5.
Wow, I'm actually surprised. I thought you would have gone a lot higher. I think I did 9 last week, and I'm actually going to tick it up a little bit to a 9.5, John.
Oh,
I really enjoyed this episode. Probably more than I had anticipated. Even coming off of last week's, I wasn't quite sure how this week's was going to land. To be very honest with you, it went in a different direction than I was expecting. Weirdly enough, the things that happened this episode is what I thought was going to happen in Mandalorian season 3. So we'll get into it once we get into spoilers. So which I guess we could just do now, John. I was waiting to see what Stu was going to say. It's just you and I. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to drop in with Stu, who's a little bit more of a Star Wars head. And there is in this episode a lot more kind of references to especially the Rebels animated series and other things like that. So look forward to kind of Stu dropping in, or one of the other guys dropping in an upcoming episode, or maybe Andre will talk a little bit about it. Maybe he'll actually give this episode a shot. If any episode deserves a shot, it is this one for our good friend Andre. Right. So I didn't think remember,
spoilers,
I think we
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers, everybody. If you haven't seen it, go watch it now. I think you'll have a fun time. So I think we talked about it last episode, and I was like, and I think both me and you were like, I think Mandalorian's going to dip for an episode. We're going to get some groundwork from Boba Fett and his crew, and then he's going to pop back up. I 100% was like, oh, he's going to go visit Grogu. We're not going to see that. That's going to be cut to Mandalorian season 3, whatever. Yeah. And but lo and behold, we get it this episode. So that's crazy. So this episode was nuts. Rob alluded to it before. Boba Fett basically makes a cameo in his own episode.
Wait,
his
ready?
own TV show.
Can I do an impression of Boba Fett from it? Ready?
Yeah.
That was it. That's all he did. He looked.
He kind of like Gru. He's kind of like Gru from like Minions and whatever that Despicable Me.
Yeah, that was it.
He talks like this, and he's like,
he actually said nothing. He said nothing. He was he was looking at the map. He didn't. I don't think he uttered one.
I think he did.
Word.
I think he did. I think he had a couple lines. Yeah.
No,
Krennic kind of gets to. For some reason, they always give Ming-Na the long speech before something goes down instead of Boba Fett giving it. I don't know what it is. If it's she does a better job delivering it, or if they just want to take some of the weight off that character. But anyways, Boba Fett cameos in the episode.
Weight can you take off when he's not doing anything?
I don't know. I feel like we shouldn't beat the guy up too much. I think it's kind of a combination. They're kind of like
episodes.
they're trying to like, I don't know if they're just trying to like create like filler space or whatever, but if you did like the early stuff, I don't want us to keep beating up on it, because I think it did work for a lot of people. I was thinking, Rob, that we can go through the cameos that happened in this episode, and in talking about those quick cameos, it'll carry us into just overall thoughts of the episode. If you want to do that way, unless you wanted to say something before we kind of dive into cameos.
No, we could just go into it. Right from, from the start.
Yeah. So the episode opens up with our boy Raylan Gibbons, Timothy Oliphant.
Gibbons.
Yeah. For some reason I put B's in there.
I don't know why.
Cobb Vanth kicking the drug dealers off his land.
Yeah.
Which was pretty damn cool. Like, did you expect to see a Cobb Vanth cameo at the beginning of this episode?
No, I didn't. I will say that part of me wondered. And again, to reiterate, so what happened last week is I surmised, as you said, John, that Mando's gone. I figured Fennec's going to be trying to recruit other people, and then we would get a whole slew of individuals back on for the final episode, which is episode 7.
Oh, so you kind of saw a montage, like a putting together the team.
I in my head, I thought, and part of me wondered, I wonder if they're going to bring back Cobb Vanth. Right, because he was wearing Boba Fett's armor. Like, I wonder, but I was like, I don't know. I was shocked to hell to see him not only in this episode, but like as you said, right off the bat, he appears and I guess there's like for lack of a better term, like a drug deal going down with a Pike Syndicate with the spice.
There's a box, a box of spice that just looks like freaking straight up sand, but whatever. And then there's like that ice cream container. Yeah,
right.
It's the actual like spice. It's like we're cooking a bunch of spicy food.
Right.
This is shady in the Star Wars universe. And then they use that egg, whatever that container is that held the Beskar way back in Mandalorian episode 1, I think.
Yeah.
Which is I guess it's the Star Wars or sci-fi equivalent to a briefcase. So you can see them holding these little white things, and they pop them down, it opens up. But yeah, it's great. I thought it was a great little sequence, very justified-ish.
Well, it was, because it was interesting, because as soon as he kicks he shoots there's 3 of them, right? They were doing the exchange. He takes down 2 of them.
Mhm.
And then he leaves the third one to kind of like, you tell me, buddy. Like, you need to have, you always have, listen, a good Western always leaves one person alive to let that person's job is to tell everybody why you're
The
not supposed to
messenger.
come back
Yeah.
to this town. Yeah. And so he does a good job of that. But the best part is the guy's like, you know, the amount of what's in this box is worth like, you know, billions, whatever it is, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
you know,
More than the town. He said
Right.
more than the town, I think.
More than town's worth. And he goes, oh,
Yeah.
good, I can do some shopping. But then he leaves the box. Cobb Vanth walks over and he kicks it with his foot. Like, he literally just kicks it open. He sees the spice and then he kicks it again. And so all the spice drops out and is blowing away into the wind. And the people of Arrakis are upset because I believe it's the spice from Dune. So it's the same texture. And yeah.
Batista is upset. He's gonna
He
show
is.
up in the final episode. Rob,
Yeah.
The thought occurred to me. So when I was watching this cameo, are we okay with basically Timothy Olyphant just kind of basically playing his bread and butter, like his go-to? I kind of actually really, well, number one, I like this style of character he plays, but number two, it's almost along those lines of kind of keep it simple, you know, like you're going to bring in actors and actresses that are good at playing a specific role, and sure, it's fun to sometimes go out of the box, but it's also very fun to just do what works and kind of and just know that people are going to dig it. Like, are you okay with that, or did you want him to maybe do something different?
No, it's interesting you bring that. Excuse me, you bring that up because you're right, John. Usually, if you have somebody playing the exact same character over and over again, you're like, okay, yeah, we know you're this. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because I'm a Timothy Olyphant fan. I don't know if it's because I really enjoyed Justified. You know, I've said before on this show how much I am a big fan of Deadwood. He has the look, the walk, the parlance, the vernacular, everything that you want of what you think like a Midwestern old school sheriff is going to be. And if that's the character you're going for, you might as well hire the guy that probably does it the best, right? Like if they were to redo Tombstone today, you would definitely hire Timothy Olyphant, right, to be in Tombstone. He'd be a great Doc Holliday. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I think for whatever reason, he just transcends the different genres playing the same character. And it doesn't bother me whatsoever that it's the same guy. It makes me happy when I see him. So I'm good with it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a simplicity to it that works. So you don't start adding complicated things to the mix. Right. You're like, we know that this guy can play this. People are going to dig it. Let's go. So I'm going to jump to the next cameo that I don't think this is in order of when it happens because I think he shows up later. But this character here, Cad Bane, Rob, being new to the Star Wars.
You jumped right to the end. You've jumped right to the end.
Is he at the end?
Yeah.
I feel like it's in like the middle somewhere.
No, it's like the last 6 minutes of the show.
Okay. Anyways, well, it's in the same vein as a Timothy. I feel like we shouldn't go like to the next step, which is like you know the old Jedi stuff. So this character, Cad Bane, very popular character from I guess the animated series. I think the voice actor from the original series is doing the voice this time around. I want to shout out his name, Corey Burton. I think Stu would want us to mention his name. Did this character mean anything to you, Rob?
Zero.
No,
it meant nothing to me.
But how cool was he?
No, so it meant nothing to me. I know that people, is it Rebels? I think he was in. I'm sure they're like losing their minds, or is it Clone Wars? I don't know, whatever. They're losing their minds, excited that they're seeing him on in a live action. And so I'm really happy for them. It meant nothing to me, but that I recognize it. You don't have to watch any of those episodes. You know, you would have seen it on a website or whatever. I recognize the individual, but I gotta say, his job came in was to be menacing and to be a threat. And he was the opposite. He was a Timothy Olyphant, but just like the dark, he was the Bizarro version. And he walked in with the same stride. And you know,
he walked from further. He was like way off in the distance.
He was on a stroll.
I was worried because I'm like, yo, Timothy Olyphant, like I love this character. But when I saw him walk in, I'm like, this is a legit character. And it's Clone Wars where he makes his kind of mainstay. Okay. And then I think he did appear in the Bad Batch. So he wasn't from Rebels as far as I can tell. But, you know, we can be corrected on that. Sure. But I was really worried. I'm like, no way is he just going to turn around and walk away because he walked from hella far, it looked like. So
well, it was
something's
so
going
funny.
down.
It was so funny, right? When like when Cobb Vance is sitting there and all of a sudden like the wind chimes, which as an aside, I actually hate wind chimes. I just despise them. At any rate, the wind chimes start going. He looks up like that's not supposed to be doing anything, and he looks back and he sees a silhouette of who we now know as Cad Bane walking, and he's telling everybody get inside. Like I was like, wow, like this is obviously he knew some shit was about to go down. And so I guess. Might as well get into it. Cad Bane shoots the deputy and
he murders the deputy.
Big time deputy, and he shoots Cad Van. So do we whatever. So do we think Timothy, I'm just gonna call him Raylan Gibbons. Do we think Raylan is he dead? Do you think he has survived? It looked to me like he got shot in the shoulder, but I don't know.
Yeah. Stu sent me a screen cap because I'm like, oh man, I feel like he's 100% not dead because the shot does go off his shoulder. When I saw him go down, you do see it go off on the angle, and then everybody rushes in to give him medical attention. They didn't do that.
They don't care about the other guy.
They didn't do that for the I'm like, as soon as I saw him kind of going off to the side and looking kind of itchy, I'm like, oh, this is why they brought this guy in. This guy is going to take the brunt of the shots and let Cad Bane show off and shoot this guy. So, but I am slightly worried because we're getting into a territory where you start introducing all these really cool characters. Is it a problem if nobody can die, or are you okay with like? I like having characters around. I don't feel like characters should be killed off just for good storytelling. Like,
I think that if the story justifies the removal of a character, then all the better for it. I'm a big fan of Lost, and they killed off a number of those characters in that show. Most notably Charlie in season 3, which still breaks my heart. It's like 20 years. So I think as long as it's justified, and I definitely no pun intended. As long as it's justified, then I think it's fine. It's not used as a cheap gimmick, I guess is the better term. So I'm okay. In this case, I suspect he's probably going to be fine. He'll be back next week. That's why you had the deputy was like it was a Star Wars version of a red shirt from Star Trek. Like that's why he was there, right? So
poor guy never stood a chance. So overall, we really like this character, Cad Bane. He looked good as far as like all the aliens that they're introducing into this. I thought he looked fantastic. The pipes, it looks very accurate. I'm not 100% familiar with the character. I am familiar with the action figure, which is where I recognize him from. And I actually did sell a bunch of them. Everyone started calling me like Cad Bane figure, and they're all gone now. Sorry, folks, but yeah. So let's move on. Let's get out of the Wild West and let's jump to where we catch up with the Mandalorian. So the scene we didn't think we were going to see has him pulling up on. Where is it? Did they establish where it is?
I don't know the name of the planet, but that it's where the Jedi Temple essentially is, right?
Yeah.
That I guess that you kind of see in was it episode 8? Is that where we saw it? It was in the new trilogy. That's
in the new one. Yeah,
Kylo Ren was training, right? So
we'll have to not 100% accurate, folks. So you feel free to fact check us on that. But Mandalorian steps out of his ship. Yeah. Just be nice about it, guys. We're trying. So Mandalorian steps out of his ship. I feel like they need a more elegant way for him to get out of the ship because stepping on the Phantom kind of step stool looks slightly awkward. I'm in favor of a Dukes of Hazzard if he kind of starts sliding out of the side and swinging across the hood or whatever. But first cameo is that's R2D2. I think
that is R2D2. Yeah,
and leads him to a waiting area.
Well, yeah. So if you're watching on the screen, if you're listening at home, you can watch us on YouTube. But on the screen, John's got a picture of the Mandalorian R2D2 and an R2D2 looking ant robot. This is what they really were. They look like robotic ants, but
they were ants. I think people online were calling them ant bots or something like that.
Sure, it makes sense. At any rate, these ants were worker ants, and they were building what would then become the Jedi Temple that Luke would train all of the new Jedis. The worker ants, though, decided to, R2 leads the Mandalorian to where this temple is slowly being built piece by piece, rock by rock, with these ants. And the ants make him a bench. He even says, "Is this a bench?"
Is it a bench?
And then
I don't know how to say. Is that a bench? Like, I don't know how he does the voice.
Is this a bench?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like Bane, right? You're like, "Oh, Mr. Wayne." So yeah, and then he decides to have a nap. Like, what are you gonna do? He's there. He's like, do I just wait here? And he decides, I'm gonna kick one out. And like,
he's like, am I gonna be here long? And R2 just straight up shuts
he just
off.
shuts down. He's like, I'm not answering more questions.
He goes into sleep mode.
Yeah, right.
Conserve energy.
Yeah. So Mandalorian has a nap on the bench.
Yeah.
And then he
All right.
meets.
And then he cuts to do we see, is it Luke or Ahsoka that shows up next?
Ahsoka.
Yeah, so Ahsoka, the cameo, I think one of the cameos that I definitely didn't expect when they started going along this trail. I'm like, whoa, we actually get to see her again. If you don't know, TV series coming for her, and things like that. So Rosario Dawson reprising her role from Mandalorian. So we don't really have attachment to this character as much as some of the other guys. She does make a reference later on to kind of Anakin, like Luke's father. He's like, like your father type of little like throwaway comment. But this is
just
crazy.
Like your father. You remind me of your father. Yeah.
So throwing these two characters on the screen together at the same time, well, her and Luke is a big deal. Like, that's crazy. So that's going to have a lot of people talking about what's coming up next with the movies and things like that. So we won't go too deep into that. But Ahsoka Tano, Rob, did you like seeing her again? I think you did quite enjoy the episode from season 2, as well as I think unanimously our entire crew was like, that's one of the best episodes of that season.
Yeah. So, excuse me, I don't remember if it was episode 6 or 7 that she was in last season of season 2 of Mandalorian, but you're right. That episode blew me away. And so I had no expectations. Listen, even what we got so far that we've discussed, I had no idea we were going to get. But if you said, "Oh, there's going to be some cameos coming in," I would still not have expected Ahsoka to have shown up, right? So I was shocked to shit that's who we meet. And he's like, "I'm not here to see you. I'm here to see Skywalker." And she's like, "Well, R2 brought you to me." And they have a very interesting conversation. He wants to see Grogu, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants to go to see and she's like, "Well, he is here of his own. Does he want to see you?" Right? Like, that's his decision to make, whether he wants to see you. And she leads Mandalorian off on a walk towards where he is, where Grogu is. And it is kind of being really, honest with him. Like, he misses you a lot. And seeing you may be detrimental to his progress in training. Mm-hmm. And are you here for him, or are you here for you? Very interesting. A bit of a gut wrenching, like, why is he there? For selfish reasons. He wants to give the foundling this wrapped gift, which we'll get into after, but is it for what purpose? To serve his own self-interest or not? Right. So it's very interesting. And he decides, obviously, to not meet Grogu. But that leads us now to, obviously, the return of Grogu.
Yeah. Before that, though, we all know how it goes down, Rob. I don't know if you remember your daycare days or picking up kids from school. If you ever showed up during lunchtime and we were like, "Hey, what's up?" and then you decide to bounce. Bad idea, folks. Yeah. so that rings 100% true. And then we go into our major cameo is our boy Luke Skywalker. And I'll throw Grogu in there. So the two of them, we get to, I actually didn't expect to see Grogu at all in this Boba Fett season. So it's kind of nice to see him back in action. But Luke Skywalker, so last time we saw him was in the finale of Mandalorian season 2. Very, I don't know what you would call it, controversial, the CG face and things like that. A lot of people weren't happy with it. What did you think this time, Rob? I thought it looked pretty damn good. So much so that I was like, did they recast this? Like, what am I looking at? But then when he starts moving around, you can kind of see a little something is not right, but it still looked pretty impressive, I would say.
Yeah. So supposedly, you're right, John. At the end of season 2, we did see, and it looked kind of odd, right? Like the VFX for Luke Skywalker looked off. It was Mark Hamill's voice. They had a stand-in. He was on set, but they did have a stand-in as well. But the face looked weird. Now, if you remember, a couple weeks later, some dude on YouTube retouched it. he like did a deep fake of it and redid it to make it look more like Luke Skywalker. And supposedly Lucasfilm went bananas for it and hired this guy. And the scuttlebutt is, I don't know if it's true or not. So all I was reading is that apparently this is the guy that they tasked to do his magic, to do his work on this version of Luke Skywalker.
I heard that same thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't confirm it, but that's what I heard. It's a cool story.
Yeah, man. It looked can you imagine that? You're just hanging out in your parents' basement, doing YouTube shit, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, come work for Lucasfilm. So you're right. First of all, it looked 1,000 times better. There were some moments when he was running and jumping where the face looked a little bit off at times. But if this budget was of this episode, let's just say it was like $1 million, they probably put about 700,000 just into the VFX on to make him look the way he is. He did. It was phenomenal. The voice was off a bit. So it's like you can't have one without the other because it wasn't Mark Hamill doing the voice. It was somebody else doing the voice.
Yeah, was it someone else? I didn't mind it though. I actually quite liked it. I liked how it sounded, but I knew it wasn't 100% him. But internet can correct us if it's wrong. Maybe they did use elements of his voice and tweak it and stuff like that. My friend who's kind of in the industry said, yeah, the deepfake stuff looks good until you have to have it start interacting with things. So that's why everything was like far away from his face. But that'd be a breakdown for some VFX guys to do. But to me, it looked pretty good. I could definitely watch it on the regular. Could have been the star of a show. I don't know about that, but for this episode, definitely that was more than adequate. Did you like the whole training montage for Grogu? Did you like seeing him back in action?
Yeah, it was cool.
Trying to eat the frog.
That was hilarious, right? Like he's supposed to be meditating, and he's starting to use it, try to get the frog because he wants to eat it, and Luke's like, Grogu, come on. And it was also very interesting. He did like a Vulcan mind meld. What Stu's throwing stuff at the screen when he watches this, but he brought back Grogu's memories of what he saw. And I know that Stu will tell us when that was. I felt like that was at the end of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, I think, right? Is that
I believe that is the Order 66, whatever, when all the troopers and we saw it a little bit in Bad Batch where they basically turn and are killing all the Jedis. Right. Internet rumor, Rob, I don't know if you heard the internet rumor is that Mace Windu saves Grogu. Would that be cool to see Samuel L. Jackson in some of these flashbacks?
Wow. Yeah, I guess it all depends on the timeline because he was killed, right? So I guess it depends on when that happens. But yeah, I mean, sure, why not? He's filming Secret Invasion, so I'm sure he's free.
He's already on their payroll.
That's right. But yeah, the training montage was cool. It obviously reminded me a lot of Empire, right? When Yoda was training Luke, the same jumps, the same backpack, all that type of stuff. It was fun. Maybe it went on a little bit too long. For me,
I was kind of like, they're covering a lot of ground. I feel like Grogu learned a lot in the span of whatever that afternoon was. We watched them. I'm like, I feel like you could have this guy trained in no time. But they do later on. He's like, I think it's more of him remembering his training. Rob, if you're standing on the beach and a young man, Luke Skywalker, all of a sudden whips out a droid and starts shooting laser beams at a little kid, are you calling child services on him?
Yes, I'd be like, what the hell? Let me ask you, do you think this training montage would have been a lot better if it was done to the music from the Karate Kid? Like, if you had,
I don't know if I would take Karate Kid. I would take the Rocky 4.
Eye of the Tiger.
Not Eye of the Tiger. The I think it's Vince DiCola. He just does it. It's like Hearts on Fire, and it's like Stallone running in the snow, and right. Ivan Drago using the like a Peloton and stuff like that. It's like, that 100%. I hope someone recuts that. But at the end of the sequence, they did play. I think when Luke's standing in the bamboo and whatever, they did finally play the Force theme or Luke's theme that I really wanted to hear, which is like classic Star Wars music, which. We've talked about it. They're very sparingly using it in these TV series, I guess. So it was very neat to finally see it kick in. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts on Luke, Grogu, Mandalorian. Did you like the little chainmail armor?
Yeah, so we'll get into that, right? So obviously,
the choice.
Ahsoka gives the package to Luke, and she's gone. She's like, "Listen, I'm out of here. Continue doing what you're doing." peace, homie. And out she left. And Luke's, before she leaves, goes, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And she goes, just follow your gut. So I guess his gut told him to give Grogu a choice. You had a life with the Mandalorian, and he was here, and he brought this for you. And we open up the package, and it's a little thing of chainmail, which we thought that's probably what it was based on the little rivets they were making last episode.
I thought it was a necnecklace.
You did.
With a big G on it. Would have been
big G with a spinner, with a spinner G,
like John Cena.
Right. So he says, hey, listen, you have this, and he laid it down there and goes, or you have this, and he opens up the box, and there's no spice in it, but there's a little lightsaber, and it belonged to Yoda. And he turns it on. He goes, this belonged to my master, and this and that. And he goes, you can only have one. You can have the lightsaber, or you can have the chainmail. You can continue to be a Jedi, or you can go with the Mandalorian. But the choice is yours, but you only go down one path. You can't have both. And obviously that moment ends with, shit, what do I do? Right? He's like, So it's interesting. Do you have a theory as to, first of all, do you think we'll see his choice hit whatever Grogu selects next week? And if not, or if so, what do you think his choice is going to be?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, so I'm going to fall into the trap again, but I'm going to say no. I think that's something they're going to leave up to
season 3.
To Mandalorian when it returns. Was that how they ended the episode, or
that is how the actual episode ended? Because preceding that is what we'll probably get into at the end. But the explosion.
So we've got one more cameo. Yeah. So they ended with that. I feel like he is going to. They've 100% set it up. They've created a seat for him in Mandalorian's new jet. The chainmail can be hidden under that sack that he always wears, so they don't have to change anything. And I think it's going to be very hard for them to sell Mandalorian season on his own without Grogu. So I don't know if he's just going to say, I'm going to train to learn the ways of the Mandalorian and then kind of come back to Jet. Because Luke says he lives a long time. So if he waits till whatever his training's on, the Mandalorian's going to be gone. So I think he wants to. It's kind of a neat choice that he wants to spend time with his father figure while he has time. But I question, like, if you're going to have Mandalorian, this Yoda character running around, or not Yoda, Grogu character, there's so many targets on his back. You know what I mean? The people already want him. Now he's got the Darksaber, that's already a target, and then he's going to add Grogu. Like, that's just that's more child endangerment. Like, it's getting kind of crazy.
It's a liability.
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to see a next episode? Are we both going to call it, and then we're going to see it next episode?
Well, I'm
going to show those guys.
Well, I would have agreed with you that we probably won't get it until season 3, but now I have no clue. I mean, it definitely sets up season 3. The only problem I have, though, is that if you decided I'm not watching Book of Boba Fett for whatever reason, whether you decide to go halfway, no, you say, I'm not watching it, I don't give a shit, and you only stuck to the Mandalorian, you are going to be lost a little bit if you don't have these last 2 episodes. Like, it's, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it really is now kind of incumbent on those viewers to have to go back and specifically watch these 2, maybe 3 episodes. We don't know what happens in the last episode, obviously. So, do I think I tend to agree with you. I think he'll probably pick the Mandalorian. That being said, I would have preferred he do the Jedi, and then maybe like in season 4 comes back into the Mandalorian's life, a kind of a quasi-trained Jedi.
Okay,
still,
so we have one season of solo Mandalorian adventures dealing with the sword and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either.
I think that he's a strong enough character. We don't need to have Grogu with him, right?
I don't know.
This is
I
not
feel like
BJ
the marketing,
and the Bear. So
yeah, I don't know. I feel like the marketing machine is going to be pressuring too much, that it's like, we have to have Grogu in there. We got to do the Funko Pops. We got to do the action figures. You got to have the shirts, all that kind of stuff. Like, so I feel like, unfortunately, that's too much of a factor.
But he could show up in the Ahsoka show too. Like, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. We'll see. So that we'll close that part of the Book of Boba Fett for now, and then we'll talk about our one last thing, the last cameo. You and Stu's girl Jessica Biel is featured in a scene where
that's not Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel? Is that not her? What's her name?
Wait, it's Beals, but is it? Oh, now you got me all.
Jennifer
Beals.
Beals.
Yeah,
Beals.
I was like Jessica Beals.
Jessica Biel.
JT. Yeah, Jennifer Beals.
This is why we need to. All right, so Jennifer Beals, in what looks like her last cameo, it's not looking good for her, Rob. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not looking. I've never been attracted to an individual with weird things coming out their head, but my God,
they did it on purpose. They made her flesh colored, like all the other girls or characters with
orange,
this thing,
green
or whatever. But they're like, we're gonna make this girl skin colored.
Yeah,
because
she's
just
like,
gonna do it.
Putting makeup on.
That's gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is interesting, right? So obviously, somebody from the Pike Syndicate comes into the casino. Two of them. They have their canister that John mentioned earlier.
The intergalactic briefcase replacement.
Right.
Now.
Yeah. And then they leave, and it destroys. It blows out the entire.
It looked like a pretty significant explosion. Like
I would be shocked to shit if anybody survived.
Yeah. I feel bad for the couple that comes up and goes helmet cleaning.
Yeah.
They're just doing their jobs. I feel bad for them.
Yeah. So I think that's if anybody's life was to be sacrificed, I suspect Jennifer Beals is probably no longer going to be part of the Star Wars universe. I could be wrong. Maybe she got out really quickly, but I would be like, I think it serves the story that the people in the casino die. I mean, we've seen Boba Fett go to that casino like 3 times, I think, in the past and obtain information from her. I don't know what her character's name is, but and so
it's Garza Flip or something. I'm pronouncing it completely wrong, but
sure.
Yeah.
So that's it.
It'd be very shocking to see them back, and this place was, I guess, under Boba Fett's protection and whatever the thing that he's putting together is. So that is a huge blow to whatever kind of street cred he was trying to put together. Unless he installed some type of blast shield that went up last minute, and a fake explosion blew out the front just so they could have a cover story. I don't know. It sounds too elaborate for anyone to have survived that. So very interesting way to leave that.
Well, I guess the last we the one scene we didn't touch on was the only scene that Boba Fett was in.
Oh yeah, the least interesting scene. You mean? Sorry, Boba Fett fans.
Yeah, we only saw so him and his I guess they're a posse. Are all around a table, standing around a table or a desk, whatever, with a 3D map discussing the different territories in which where they have to attack the Pike Syndicate. So it's him. It's obviously Fennec Shand, as you said. It's Kristan, the Wookiee, the badass Wookiee that you're a fan of. And 3 of the cybernetic enhanced
cyber kids,
the punks that are hanging out, including the one girl from Yellow Jackets. And I don't think there's anybody else, right, that was hanging around. I think that was it.
I think the droid was chilling there, and that assistant to the mayor, whatever.
To the mayor, yeah, he was there,
and made his little joke. That guy actually grew on me a lot. I didn't like him at first, but actually think he's pretty funny. But yeah, so basically his idea was he needs bodies, he needs soldiers, and then I was gonna say Django, but I mean Mandalorian goes and talks to Cobb, and that's
right, because Mandalorian does show up. That's right.
Mandalorian shows up, and then he flew by the Jawas too, who had a special like whatever their cruiser was with a big
the dragon
head on it. Yeah. So I wonder if he also is going to recruit the Jawas. And shout outs to, I think we forgot to mention it last week, the 2 Jawas that were like go-tos to find all the parts for his ship. And one of them was kind of like a little bit like shorter and tubbier than the other one. That guy is awesome. I can't wait to see more of that guy. I love that guy.
Yeah. So Mandalorian does go back to the town and does meet up with Cobb Vanth and ask him to bring his townspeople to help for this battle. And that then obviously then goes into the end. He takes off. Cobb says, no, I'm not going to do it. Tells his deputy, round everybody up. We have a fight, or tells the bartender. And then that's when we see Cad Bane come in and take down. So that was the end of the episode of that story, right? So, so who knows? Like, listen, this is the penultimate episode next week is the finale, John. I don't know where we go from here. Reason dictates that we're going to have a throwdown with Boba Fett's clan of ragtag individuals, including the Mandalorian, maybe Cobb Vanth, up against the Pike Syndicate. But who knows? Like, we've talked about this in shows before where it's like there isn't much runway left. And now I feel like we're touching down and we've got to put the brakes on and we're running out of landing strip.
Are they going to put this entire syndicate to bed for this like final season, or does he just lose to them? I feel like what can happen time-wise is they lose, or they get like that explosion triggers them basically getting pushed off this planet and having to start a Firefly, crew of smugglers, or I don't know what the hell you'd call it. But yeah, it puts us in an interesting spot, and only one episode left. Yeah, I feel like they've got a lot of ground to cover, but we'll see if they do it. So looking forward to next week, episode 7. I don't know if we have a title for it or not.
No, not yet.
We'll leave that off the table just in case there's spoilers. And then we will have, hopefully Stu will be back, and we'll have a little bit more discussion about all the craziness that's happened. So anything else we got to say about this one, Rob, for now?
The last question I had for you is, I know you're a big fan of Mando's new ship.
Yeah.
I find it really claustrophobic, though, every time they do a cockpit shot.
I like that shot.
I like that shot. I know, but there's not a lot of room to maneuver.
Yeah.
Like, it's really using his hands and he's flicking switches, but he's in there. Like,
it's tight. You lose a lot. You lose a lot putting him in a ship like that. Like, he doesn't have like the Razor Crest. He had like whole scenes in it and things that went down.
He could walk around. If he wanted to eat, he could make a sandwich. He had ability to do this. If he's like, where's my iPhone? Shit, it's my back pocket. Now he's like, If you've ever sat
in a race car, you're not getting anything from your pockets. No. You're not kind of like, even getting in and out quickly is not going to happen. So, but I don't know. I like how the thing looks. I'm actually pretty happy with it, despite my expensive ass Razor Crest showing up from HasLab eventually. I'm fine with it right now. So we'll see how it functions. I like the shot. You see the engine.
Yeah. You can hear it. It sounds like an old sports car, right? With
they go for that shot. You see Mandalorian. I don't know how you could do like here. And then you see this engine up here, and he's like, you're like,
and it's wavering, right? He's like, it was really cool. Yeah.
All right.
So listen, we've been on record, John. The first 4 episodes, we were like, 5 and 6 were a lot better, but obviously it was the absence of Boba Fett, which is interesting. Throughout the week, I thought to myself, this show probably should have been titled better, or had a better, maybe the first 4 episodes were just too Boba Fett. Like, you could have probably done a lot of this. Other people being brought together for his mission.
No. You know what? If the situation was reversed and it was Mandalorian, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 episodes of Boba Fett stuff happened, I think we would have been fine with it. So I'm giving it some slack right now. So I'm happy that.
Are you excited? Are you excited for the finale?
Yeah, I'm fine. It went from a show that I was kind of like, I guess I'll watch it, or we gotta crank it out, to like, oh man, this is awesome. I gotta watch it first thing in the morning now. So there's that. So we're gonna wrap this up in the next week, folks. Thank you everybody for staying tuned in. So the Heroes World podcast, you can find us on iTunes and Spotify. Please give us a 5-star rating if you can, a little review. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give us some likes, give us some comments. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know questions and other things you want us to cover. And then if you're looking for us, the shop, Heroes World Online, take you to the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube channel, Heroes World Online, take you all there, and I can set you up with whatever you need. And then we do have a physical location as well. The address can be found on the website. All the links are down on the bottom, so check us out. Rob, we have the Sidekick Show coming up on Monday. Quickly, what are we covering on Monday?
Yeah, so we're still in the mix of our 90s action movie bracket. We are doing the first part of the decade, 1994. And this week, it's a face-off, John, between Leon, the professional, and your boy, Jean-Claude Van Damme in Time Cop.
Trust me.
Yeah. So my mama took one. So we are definitely going to it's going to be an interesting conversation, John, about these 2 movies. individually, and then obviously pairing up against each other. Which one will move on to the next bracket? So definitely you want to tune in on Monday, 8:15 on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Check out our social media for the links. And join us, especially on the YouTube stuff. That's where all the conversations happen with all of our good friends.
Yeah, get in on the chat. This is where you get to talk with us, get to contribute, and give us ideas, and we react. So thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thanks.
We're going to catch you. Shout outs, Heroes World Podcast. Thank you very much, everybody. Shout outs to Stu. Hopefully your meeting at the high table went well. And we will talk to you guys soon.